Hello everyone. Today we're going to do a super quick high-level talk about keto ratios. Hi, and welcome to the Radical Geek YouTube channel, where every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday we do video uploads, and on Sunday we host a live stream affectionately coined Coffee Talk, where we chat and talk about the warm beverage of the evening by diving into the origins, history, and brew method. Most of the time the focus is on a coffee, but not every time, and we often pair this with a keto recipe. And as always, the best part is chatting amongst ourselves and enjoying the fellowship of our community. So make sure that you click the subscribe button below and then hit the little bell icon so that you are notified every time we upload or go live. And share around the channel so that you can help us grow our little community. So, with the YouTube stuff out of the way, we're going to talk about keto ratios today. AKA therapeutic keto, and how this became popular, picked up by diet culture, and led to a lot of misconception and bad information surrounding ketogenesis, especially when it comes to weight loss needs. So, before I get started, here's the important part. I am not a doctor, and this YouTube is not medical advice. Don't take medical advice from YouTube. Now that said, you can recognize that I'm not a doctor, but I have been eating keto for a very long time, and as a geek, I've definitely fully embraced deep diving into the science surrounding it, especially because my neurologist and cardiologist were aggressively insistent about it, and I definitely enjoy sharing my experiences and my journey with you. And for sure, we'll make more videos about this in the future, because one little video today, we're only going to barely scratch the surface. So, but we are going to chat for a few minutes, and I want to make sure that as we go along, you go ahead and enter any questions or comments that you have below so that we can circle back and address them, whether we do that right in the comments or if we put out another video because it might need a more detailed answer. So let me take another drink here. So maybe some of you have never heard of keto ratios. So we'll talk first about what keto ratios are, and then we'll do a quick little roundabout as to why ratios are the thing for therapeutic keto. So, keto ratios, the classical therapeutic keto diet was designed for treating seizure disorders, specifically epilepsy, but also very successful for other kinds of seizure disorders. The ratio is referred to as ketogenic ratio, and it represents the amount of fat in the diet in comparison to the amount of protein plus carbohydrate. All foods are made up of fats, carbohydrates, and proteins. Therapeutic ketogenic diets are high-fat, restricted carbohydrate diets. So, sorry folks, but now it's time for my favorite part, the math. We are going to math. And I know math isn't a verb, but right now it's probably going to feel like it. So make sure you ask your questions later. First and foremost, the ratios and anti-seizure component. Typically, the first thing a neurologist is going to do when you have seizures is they're going to give you an anticonvulsant, an anti-seizure medicine. But Up to around 30% of seizure sufferers won't respond to the medication, or they're going to have a ton of really hard to cope with side effects. So if 2 or 3 medications of those anticonvulsant category fail, uh, the next step is for them to add in a diet component. It's actually more likely that a diet component added to an anticonvulsant is going to be more successful in treating the seizures than continuing to go through all of the anticonvulsants. So the other part of that is know that if that you are prescribed a therapeutic keto food plan, they should be pairing you with a ketogenic dietitian who will work with you, and they will help you calculate for your food plans. They will help you every step along the way, so you won't be left floundering trying to do a lot of math, figuring out all of your ratios. They will give you tips, tricks, and help you with all of the math pieces, so you won't be just digging around on the internet and diving into the weight loss pool, which will maybe not be effective for you. That doesn't mean it won't be effective for you, but it means that it's not necessarily following the same path that you'll need for a therapeutic keto. So, uh, and vice versa. If you need weight loss keto or diabetic control or MS symptom relief, maybe ratios will work for you, maybe not. Maybe you'll need a different type of plan. And there are so many ways to keto and so many different things. So you need to do your due diligence, study all the plans, and test them out, work with your medical professionals to pick one out. So back to the ratios, because I digress. And if you've been watching my channel at all, you know that that's my way. So most commonly, ketogenic ratios are 4-to-1 or 3-to-1 to start with. That is 4 grams of fat for 1 gram of protein plus carbohydrate. In other words, for every 5 grams of food consumed, 4 will be fat and 1 is protein or carbohydrate. Therefore, 4-to-1 a ketogenic diet is 80% fat, and 20% makes up protein plus carbohydrate. So likewise, if you're following 3-to-1, 75% fat, 25% protein plus carbohydrate. Notice that the ketogenic diet compares the amount of fat, protein, and carbohydrates in grams. Grams is a measure of weight, and that's because the diet's calculated in grams. Foods are measured using a gram scale. We talked a little bit about that last night in the live stream when I was using a scale to weigh my water out for the coffee brew, and someone was asking why I was using grams, and I'm like, well, that's the way my food weighs. Yes, technically grams and milliliters, yada yada yada. So there you go. That's another reason why. So if you compare fat, protein, and carbohydrates according to the number of calories provided instead of grams, the ratio is a little different because fat is more calories per gram than protein and carbohydrates. Fats are 9 calories per 1 gram of fat, and protein and carbohydrates are 4 calories for 1 gram. So, and you'll notice that 3-to-1 might have sounded familiar if you are a weight loss keto follower, because I feel weird saying it back in the day, but several years ago when ketogenesis started having an uptick in popularity for the weight loss side effect, that 3-to-1, that is the start point for a lot of seizure sufferers, is the numbers that they kind of picked up on, and so they were very much touting 75% fat, 20% protein, 5% carbohydrates. I'll be honest, I don't know where they got that 5% from. That 5% is kind of made up. It's quasi sort of recommended when the ketogenic dietitian is helping you with your initial calculation, because they'll tell you that you need mostly fat and more protein because that's what your muscles need to build. But by just the way food is built, you'll get some carbohydrates. And you don't want to really be above 5%, and you really want to be around 20 to 30% total carbs. And that's carbs in grams. So not 5%. 5% is a maximum, but really it's 5% or 20 to 30 total carbs, whichever is less. So, and there are a lot of reasons why it could be 5% instead of 20 to 30, even though 20 to 30 sounds enormous. If you are a 5-year-old, it could be different. So let's back up a bit. A ratio of 4-to-1 or 3-to-1, it's your starting point for therapeutic keto. And you'll see all the time random people who hate ketogenics touting out, well, that's never meant to be a forever diet. And as it turns out, technically, it's not meant to be a forever diet. Wait, with the caveat, at the 4-to-1 start point ratio. Even therapeutic diets, the therapeutic ketogenic diets, expect you to remain on restricted carbohydrates for life. You are expected, though, that once you have your seizures very well controlled, either extremely reduced or, like myself, completely stopped, you will still always have to restrict your carbohydrates. Now, there's a lot of room, though. You may lower down from a 4-to-1 to a 2-to-1 or 1-to-1. 1-to-1, especially if you will become highly athletic, because you need that protein for your muscles. You will find, though, that sometimes as you move along, you'll get to know your body. You might be developing some brain fog, or having a rough day, getting maybe some light headaches, or that swimmy feel. If you have seizures, you know exactly what I mean. That fog and that light thrum, that my brain is starting to get a little too tight in my skull, similar to migraines, but not quite migraines. That's your cue right this very second. Go back to that 4-to-1 ratio and eat your fat, and you will find very quickly you'll be back on the good track. Again, with the caveat, work with your medical professionals. But so there's there's where they're getting that phrase. They're cherry picking it out of there and forgetting the context. Correct. 4-to-1 with the very low protein is not meant to be forever. It is, however, meant to be a really good starting point for getting your seizures under control. And you do lose weight. However, if you don't come back down and get everything under control and work your way to that 2-to-1, 1-to-1 ratio, you will find then that you will have some muscle loss, and that is not a thing that you really want to have happening. So let me just take another drink here of my beverage. In case you're curious, it's actually not coffee. I know that's kind of a shocker. I'm having electrolytes, and I have warmed them up, though, because it is really cold today, and I just wanted something very soothing. And so I've got these are BioSteel Peach Mango, and it's actually really good warm and very comforting. That's the other thing that they often forget to tell you with the internet experts, that when you are also following 4-to-1 or 3-to-1 for your therapeutic keto, just like any other version of ketogenesis food plan, excuse me, you will need to supplement your vitamin D, you need to increase your salt, and your electrolytes in general. Those are all super important things to pay attention to. So, let me backtrack and screw up your math a little bit. If you are on 4-to-1 ketogenic ratio, 90% of your calories in your diet come from fat. 90%. Wait a minute, Maitreya, you were just saying 80% and 75% for 3-to-1. What gives? What kind of crazy hijinks are you doing now? You might be wondering, where'd you get 90% from? If that's confusing to you, don't be surprised. It really bent my noodle, and it took me a while to grasp it. Which is it? 90% fat, 80% fat, 75%? Here's why. Just like I was saying before about the difference between counting grams and counting calories, it's 80% fat if you're measuring by weight in grams. It's 90% fat if you're measuring by calories. That's the reminder of the 4-to-1. 4-to-1 ketogenic ratio represents 4 grams of fat for every 1 gram of protein plus carbohydrate. 4 grams of fat provides 9 calories per gram. So, which is a total of 36 calories. 1 gram of protein or carbohydrate is 4 calories. So that's where you get your 36 to 4, thus 90% of the calories come from fat and 10% come from protein and carbohydrates. Well, I'm really just keep narrowing those numbers down, right? So that is why I say having your dietitian, your ketogenic dietitian, work with your neurologist and you to really streamline it helps a lot because it gets down in the weeds. On a 3-to-1 ketogenic diet, about 87% of the calories comes from fat and 13% comes from protein plus carbohydrate. For comparison's sake, your typical American diet is about 35% of calories from fat and 65% from protein and carbohydrates, with a higher amount coming from carbohydrates. So after all this, there's still a confusion about ratios and carbs. So I want to repeat what I said before. In weight loss keto, when they first started talking about ratios, they kept bringing up that 5% carbs, which I think we've heard it lately from a lot of people who are starting to recognize 5% in a ratio doesn't make a lot of sense if you're not actually measuring out all of these other pieces and taking into consideration your protein. So to reiterate what I was saying before, I'm going to repeat myself. 5% came from that 3-to-1 ratio, and that ratio is talking about weight grams, not calories. So whatever they're talking about, it's just technically incorrect. But if we're going to talk ratios, out of your protein carbohydrates, if you've got, whatever your percentage is, no more than 5% of that ratio should be carbohydrates. And 5%, throw that out. It's actually no more than 20 to 30 grams of total carbs, or 5%, whichever is less. It's really confusing, and it's often... I know that even just going through it here has probably not given you a lot of clarity. That's why I want you to make sure that you ask questions so that we can answer them and so we can go back and review. Ultimately, if you're doing weight loss keto, what you want to do is work with your medical professionals, find out a good start point for you. And then from that start point, experiment with a lot of the different things that are going around until you find a sweet spot that works well for you, that makes you feel good, that makes your body feel good, that helps you achieve your goals. And do that in conjunction with your medical professionals while you get all of your labs, you follow all of the stuff. Uh, get yourself a ketogenically inclined coach to help you with your calculations so that you don't have to think about all of this math as much. Get yourself a good food tracker so you can see your nutrition. I use Chronometer. I think I know a lot of other people who use Chronometer. If you are used to MyFitnessPal, go ahead and use it, but know that the data in there is sometimes problematic and you won't be getting your best bang for your dollar. Or maybe you're getting exactly what you pay for if you're using only the free version. And I want to make sure that I also am sensitive to know I'm not telling you that you should eat therapeutic keto. I am totally not recommending one type of ketogenic diet over another. What I am recommending is that you learn about all of the different ways for ketogenesis and you find what works best for you. And I know that can be so overwhelming because there are so many options and it seems like every week there's a new challenge, which feels like a lot of pressure and a lot of dare. And we don't need to do that. We can dive in on any of these food plans and relate it back to the origins and see how we can best do to treat ourselves. And again, working in conjunction with your medical professionals who will know about your body and some of the problems you may be experiencing. So I did a lot of talk about math, and I just want you to know, again, for therapeutic keto, I started out with a ratio of 4:1. The change was phenomenal. And I have since then whittled my way down. I did lose over 120 pounds. So definitely there was weight loss. I feel great. I'm athletic now. And now I am on about a 1-to-1 ratio with my I'm losing my mind. With my fat to my protein carbohydrate ratio, and my carbohydrates are very low. They are within 20 to 30 total carbs. So that's how you do that step. And if you were back in the early 80s when Atkins had a resurgence and he did a re-release of his book called The Atkins New Diet Revolution, you will recognize a lot of that therapeutic ketogenesis littered throughout there, where he talks about his induction phase, where the first 2 weeks are basically your detox, 20 grams, no more than 20. He wasn't doing net back then. We hadn't even talked about net or subtracting things. Everything was total back then. And then you kind of stepped it up a little bit and you increased your carbs for a little while until you stopped losing weight, and then you backed it back off a little bit, not all the way back to his induction 20 grams, but up a little bit. Probably you never got, I don't think very many people saw success past 50 grams, so you kind of refined it, and then eventually you got down where you could have a little more because you were in maintenance and you weren't trying to lose any more weight, but you didn't want to gain weight, and you worked through that balance. So very familiar. Now, I've done a lot of talk here about the math. You should know also that therapeutic keto is very big on ingredient restriction. Not only do you have to do total carbs, where those carbs come from matter. If you are prescribed a therapeutic keto, you won't be eating 2 tablespoons of rice to eke out your measly 20 carbs. A high glycemic index equals right off the board. Don't even think about it, and you're not going to be reintegrating it in the future, even if you come from 4:1 all the way to 1:1 like I did. So you definitely will be mindful of starches. You will be very cautious around seeds and nuts and high fibers. Not that you can't have them, but you have to be mindful of it because it all counts. Everything counts. So all of that just to get around to the next point of why. Why then? Why therapeutic keto? So that's the research and that's the science. Ketogenic diets, therapeutic diets, have been around since the 1920s. They started by treating children with seizure disorders, and then they moved on to testing and going with adults. There's a lot of studies. Trying to remember, I believe it's Henderson's International Ketogenic Diet Study, and a final round of it published. I'm sorry, I will have to look it up and get back to you. I can't remember if it was 2004 or 2006. It might have been even both those. They might have had multiple iterations. But when people are bent out of shape and they think ketogenics or keto diets are a fad, I don't know why. Really, all it is that it's become more popular. Now, have a lot of shifty products trying to pull some shenanigans by doing funky nutrition label math, maybe made parts of it very diet industry, very fad-like. Probably so. I know if I go into the grocery, it does not matter if something has a great big stamp on it that says keto certified. It's just not so. I have to pick up that package and I have to really deep dive analysis right there on the spot, because more often than not, those products are no good. And I'll be honest, if you are looking at reversing diabetes or any of those types of things and you are following a ketogenic path, those products are probably not great for you either. You might feel like you need them because they give you some familiarity with foods, but I think that you might find that they are hindering your success. Of course, I am not you, and I am not your medical professional, so if you find different, all the more power to you. Enjoy, because you are a very lucky person. But so multiple studies by a neurologist, cardiology has seen phenomenal results with ketogenesis. Doctors Volek and Finney have been doing government research on athletics and athletic performance with ketogenesis, seeing some amazing results there. So there's just so much research out there and science backing it. It's pretty awesome, but when it gets right down to it, my primary motivation was the seizure control. And when I read a statistic that says 90% of seizure sufferers experience relief by following a ketogenic diet, that is some amazing statistics there. 90% of people see a reduction in seizures, and of that 90%, a not insignificant portion actually stop their seizures, like myself. I want to shout that to the rooftops. And so that is why I might be a bit overly enthusiastic or very passionate, but I see a lot of success from people who follow this kind of therapeutic keto. And I'm sure whatever your path is, you will too. It's sometimes very hard and it's very challenging to be inside a ketogenic box when the rest of the world is going another direction. But we actually have some really good support. We're growing in numbers as people are experiencing relief from things like seizures or extending other experiences. Reversing diabetes is just huge right now. And I really love hearing stories, inspirational. I love people who have found health healing and then that side effect of weight loss on top of it that has made them feel good about themselves is bang on awesome. So I'm pretty sure that's more than enough for today, even though if you wanted me to, I could go on like another a book this size and just start meandering and getting deep into it. We could start going through medical journal papers and just be hog wild. I'm sure that I have given you more than you want for today. So go ahead and just please do me a favor, hit the like button on the video, leave your comment below on what questions you have, and we'll circle back to it. And then I will see you again on Wednesday with a different topic, and we'll talk about something fun keto, I promise. And then Friday we'll be doing a cheese video, although there's no more advent calendar cheese. So I'll see ya. Have a great day. Bye bye.